of truth in a world of confusion and lies. Yes, we were supposed to start at 8:30, but I am going to blame the producer. I won't say his name, but I don't know why Gabe was so late. This is the deal that I listen. A couple of things that I want to talk about, and we'll bring you some of the latest breaking news. Obviously, there's still a big whoop de doo about this Garcia, this MS-13 wife beater, human trafficker, so on, etc. We'll get to some of the latest news on that because Democrats are still defending this guy. I do think this is a big deal. Obviously, the markets took a hit today. For those of you that may have been watching your stocks, may have been watching your 401k, that's actually not in the news as much, ironically, but that has happened. So we do hope and pray that these tariffs will come to play, these negotiations will come to play. So hopefully soon, my 401k, or actually I don't have a 401k, but I do invest. Um, and hopefully yours will be in better shape very soon. I think in the long run, this will be better for America. Some of you may have experience over the Easter celebration, Resurrection Sunday, so on, etc. Leading up to it, there weren't a lot of Easter baskets inside of some of these stores, so I suspect that a lot of these things were shipped from China, including medicines and pharmaceuticals that China is now threatening not to send to the United States. So honestly, guys, this is something that needed to be happen. As it is a little scary, I understand. Trump is moving at breakneck speed, but we cannot be relying on China for our pharmaceuticals. This is the band-aid that needed to be ripped off, and I there can be debate on how quickly it happened, how it's happening, so on, etc. But this is something that ultimately needed to happen. Obviously, the biggest news over the weekend and into this morning is the death of Pope Francis. And I want to get into that. I actually read a couple of articles, one at the Spectator World, another at Wall Street Journal. That I want to pose to you, and I am going to risk offending some people, and I want you to understand that I do love you. All right, I do love you, and I say this as a person that wants every single one of us to get to heaven and see the face of Jesus Christ. But I am hopeful for a more traditional pope. I was not a fan. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I was not a fan of Pope Francis. I appreciate that many people were. And I've heard some people say, yeah, you know what? Don't make the mistake if you're a conservative of contextualizing Pope Francis in such a way where it's a political thing. Guys, that's complete and utter nonsense. I know a lot of people say that and they want to feel extra spiritual and all that kind of good stuff. But I'm sorry. Your faith life bleeds out into your everyday life, and it isn't always good. I mean, God knows, Lord knows that I'm not an angel. That's why Jesus died for me, right, on the cross, because he knows that I am, or that I was, a sinner saved by grace, no longer a sinner, not because of the things that I do, because I mess up all the time, but because of the blood of Jesus Christ, because of the mercy of Jesus Christ, or the mercy of God the Father, by sending or putting Jesus Christ on the cross. All right, so I understand that, but the Pope is very important. I heard someone say earlier that the reason why the Pope is so important. This was someone that used to be. I used to watch him on Fox News. I forget his name, but he's no longer in the priesthood. He left the priesthood. He wanted to get married, and now he's married in the with kids, I believe, and but he still speaks on occasion. I don't know if he speaks for the Catholic faith or if he just comes on Fox and opines as an analyst when it comes to these things. But he used to be on there all the time, Fox and Friends and so on, etc., opining on all things Catholicism, and very good. But he said some things that I thought were very important, or something in particular that he said that I thought was very important. He said the reason why even evangelicals like myself, and Jews and the like uh, should want a good pope and wish the best for the pope and stuff like that, is simply because the pope, whether we like it or not, as evangelicals, um, as far as just the face of religion, if you will, they have the biggest platform out there. The Pope does. And I sat there and I thought about that, and I was like, man, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And that's why I believe that the Catholic Church needs to get this right. Let me just read a little bit of the Pope's history. This was from the Wall Street Journal. There was another piece that I read on Spectator World, but they made lots of the same points. Jorge Bergoglio was the name of the Pope, better known as Pope Francis. Died obviously today. He enters history as the 266th, that is Pope. Conclave of senior counselors. This is from the Wall Street Journal. The Worldwide College of Cardinals will choose his successor. In the meantime, it's worth remembering, Wall Street Journal writes that the Roman pontiffs have already been a mixed crew for believing Catholics. The Pope is the Bishop of Rome and the successor of St. Peter, who was martyred in the imperial city. He is also pastor of the Universal Church, the Holy Father, a source of sound teaching, encouragement, and unity for the faithful. Okay, let's stop there. Guys, let me talk to you about something because I saw this headline. I didn't go into the column. I wish I had. But Gen Z, there's starting to be somewhat of a spiritual awakening amongst the younger people inside of the United States of America, and that is a good thing. Young people are looking for traditionalism. They're looking for solid roots, and this is why I think faith is so important in culture. Listen, guys, culture can go any way that it wants to. I can share my own story. I can share stories of friends where we were just out there heathens. I mean, I was a sinner amongst sinners, out there partying and doing all types of stuff. I didn't do drugs. I mean, I did a little weed back in the day. And I'm not minimizing that, but it wasn't something that I was hooked on. It wasn't something that I looked forward to. Wasn't something that I needed. A little drinking, and then not much, not so much where I would get drunk and stuff like that for a very short period of my time, very short period in my life. And I was like, what am I doing? This is stupid. And I haven't drank since. And believe it or not, it was when I was underage. And I never drank or smoked weed once I got of age. I was just doing it, stupid kid doing some stupid things at the time that that I sincerely regret, but I suspect that was, I mean, and that was all my homeboys. That was a lot of people that I hung around with at the time. But you reach a point in your life where maybe God wakes you up. That was certainly the point in my life. I was going through a custody battle with my daughter. I was also had some issues, some run-ins with the law, and God was tugging on my heart, and in the depths of that depths of despair at times, and just hitting rock bottom. It felt like to me, I really felt like really felt like God reached out to me. But you've got to know where to go. You've got to know where to go. The reason why people like the Pope are so important is because, and the reason why I believe that even that evangelicals shouldn't shrink back, that Catholics shouldn't shrink back, that Jews shouldn't shrink back, is because when the unrighteous, when the unholy fall into sin, they have to know where to go. They have to know what is morally right, what is morally wrong. You may disagree with it. You may say, "Oh man, those Christians, they're so intolerant. They're bigots. They don't believe in love is love and all that." No, love isn't love, because all love isn't the same. Even when it comes to homosexual relationships, compared to heterosexual relationships, were it not for heterosexual relationships, society couldn't grow because homosexuals can't reproduce. That's not a knock. That's just a fact. So love isn't love. What about bestialities? Love? No, 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 it isn't. See, someone has to be the measurement. Someone has to be. We've got to have someone or something, a higher power. For me, that's Jesus Christ, that we look to and say, I screwed up. This is where I want to be. It doesn't mean you don't mess up while you're trying to get there, but we've got to have somebody to look to. And this is why I'm going to offend some people. And that's why I say this Pope was disappointing to me. Now, he made his place in history. A lot of people love this guy. A lot of people dislike this Pope. But there's no doubt about it. He made a name for himself in history. Where that'll end up in the long run, I don't know. But anyway, the story or the column goes on to say, for believing Catholics, again, the Pope is the Bishop of Rome and successor of St. Peter, who was martyred in the imperial city. He's also the pastor of the Universal Church, the Holy Father, a source of sound teaching, encouragement, and unity for the faithful. Such is the theory. The actual record is more complex, however. The church regards more than 80 of its former popes as saints, men of exceptional holiness, they write, leadership and service. The list of genuinely bad popes is small. Most popes have been adequate men by the standards of their faith and the conditions of their time. They do their best and are soon forgotten. Where Francis will fit in Catholic memory is unclear. Now, guys, I got to tell you that having read some history now, I'm a fan of Pope John Paul II, as many conservatives are. I'm also a fan of Pope Benedict the 16th, which was the predecessor of this particular pope. And frankly, I hope that the Catholic Church comes to a an agreement of someone that fits two of the former two of the former popes. Because for right now, the culture that we live in, I think they would be better for the world. Quite frankly, we'll be back. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Mm, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, this is Carl Jackson. I appreciate you tuning in. Please follow me all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we are on Facebook as well. I appreciate any of you that may be joining in tonight, or if you're catching the podcast at a later time. Hey, so be it. We appreciate you catching the podcast at a later time. I didn't opine on this Austin Metcalf thing, this Austin Metcalf murder at the hands of the murderer, alleged murderer, Carmelo Anthony. I'm going to be talking about that as well. Before I get to that, I do want to talk to you guys about my pillow. But first, I'm going to take a swig. Oh, also, I got to say, please, please, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, if you would rate and review, that would be great. Okay, guys, let me talk to you about My Pillow. My Pillow is excited to announce that they are extending the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of My Pillow's most popular and newly released items. For example, you can save $40 on the new spring My Pillow bed sheets, available in any size and any color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability. They're perfect for a great night's sleep. Also, if you're looking for a meaningful gift, you can save 30% on the brand new Mike crosses that are inspired by the one that Mike Lindell has worn for over 20 years now. These beautifully crafted crosses come in both men's and women's designs, and they're proudly made in the USA, which is a good thing because it's harder to get things now if they're not made in the USA. So you get the 6-piece bath or kitchen towel sets for just $39.98 as well. Initial quantities are extremely limited, so please don't wait. And don't forget, the best-selling standard My Pillow is just $17.98. I don't even know how they do that. So it's $17.98. Orders of $75 or more ship for free. Go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl, Carl. I don't spell it like the communists, or call 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. And again, we have a lot of video to get to, so we will get to that momentarily. But I do want to offer my 2 cents when it comes to the Pope and why this is so uh, why this is so important. Having a good Pope, even if you're not a Catholic. And again, I'm an evangelical, but I realize that right now we are fighting. Uh, we're fighting a spiritual battle, whether you want to believe it or not. I mean, the powers that be. Look at these Democrats, and we'll get into this momentarily. There's a squabble going on within the Democrat Party. They are fighting for who's going to take control of the party. Is it going to be the left wing nut jobs in the party, or is it going to be the moderates that are semi nut jobs in the Democrat Party? And so that fight is being played out. But look at the things that they're fighting about. They are wanting to bring, and we're going to have Zach Smith of the Heritage Foundation on with us tomorrow, or we'll be recording an interview with him because I want to talk about the latest Supreme Court decision that has instructed President Trump to halt deportations back to is it Venezuela or El Salvador. Anyway, to halt some of these gangsters going back overseas or to their hemisphere, whatever, back to their countries, deporting them back to their countries, halting the flights to their countries. I think it's utter nonsense, but I do want to speak to Zach Smith about it because maybe there's something that I'm missing. Justice Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas dissented from the opinion, but I have heard some other opinions out there, and I want to clarify them with Zach Smith. And I want to bring you the best information possible. So, excuse me. So we will record that for you tomorrow. We will have that up, but we will record it before the live programming. We'll put that up for you, and then we will go live. All right. So getting back to the Pope, Francis was the first Pope since the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 65, to serve with no direct experience of its issues and proceedings, according to the Wall Street Journal. He was 28 and not yet a priest when the council closed. He was born in Buenos Aires. He was the first pope in many centuries elected from outside of Europe. Many of you know that. And the first member of the Society of Jesus, that was the Jesuits. Um, and both factors played a major role, according to Wall Street Journal, in shaping his papal ministry after ordination to the priesthood in 1969. Bergoglio, later known as Pope Francis, served as a master of novices and professor of theology, among other posts within the Jesuit community, including a difficult and unpopular term as Argentina's Jesuit provincial, um, which is interesting. Pope John Paul II named him an auxiliary bishop of Buenos Aires in 92, the city's archbishop in 98, and a cardinal in 2001. He was elected pope, obviously, in 2013. And then shortly after the resignation of Joseph Ratzenberger, which was Pope Benedict the 16th, which I liked. I thought he was a great um, replacement, if you will, for Pope John Paul II, because he had the uh, he just had to me, he had a sweet spirit, but he was absolutely brilliant too when it came to explaining his faith. And I thought it was a good fit, but obviously there was a lot of controversy still plaguing the Catholic Church. But it soon became clear that Francis' priorities and style of governance was different from others, and arguably in substance from his immediate predecessors, excuse me. In some key ways, the Wall Street Journal writes, on the positive side, Francis brought a simplicity and informality to his public ministry that had widespread appeal. His commitment to those on the margins, the poor, the disabled, the migrant, the refugee, was hardly new in the church, but Francis made it a centerpiece of his service. And this is sometimes, believe it or not, where I disagree, because this is where to me, the inclination that he had towards socialism came in. And frankly, I believe that is a disservice to the church. I believe that is a disservice to the faith. I don't believe you're taking care of the poor when when you're when you're telling the government to do it. You're knocking the government for not doing it. That is the role of the church. That is the role of the people of faith. And oftentimes I just felt like the socialism aspect was a bit pervasive. And these are things that we should all do. Yes, we should take care of the poor. Yes, we should take care of the disabled. Yes, we should take care of the migrant, the refugee. If we get the term refugee right, maybe. But if it's a refugee, should we send them back like they did in the Bible? So this was stuff that was hardly new, but this was the stuff that was a bit controversial. There's other things. His themes of mercy and accompaniment drew praise from many outside the Catholic orbit and otherwise remote from religious belief. He pressed for more decentralized church structures with wider lay involvement and pursued friendly dialogue with Islam and other non-Christian religions. He was a vigorous opponent of the death penalty and materialist excesses. He reordered the Vatican's administrative machinery to be more receptive to the needs of local bishops. So that's another area where I would disagree. I do believe in the death penalty as long as you can prove it without a doubt at all. All right. Um, he sought a new, if controversial, church relationship with China, took steps toward the reform of the Vatican's finances. His obvious concern for the environment, rooted in a biblical respect for creation, made common cause with global efforts related to climate. Now, I believe that there's when it comes to people of faith. There's certain things that we should believe in. Listen, we should be wise stewards of our environment. We should be clean. We shouldn't try to destroy our environment. We should also recognize that there's a God above that has given us resources to use as human beings, as His creation. Now we should make sure those things are as clean as possible. He was developing a relationship with China, the biggest polluters out there. So this was a big deal for him. Climate change was a big deal for him, and it was a complete and utter fraud. I do believe that as a church, we have a responsibility not to be naive. And then when people will come along and say, well, let's not make this political, a lot of that stuff is political. I mean, he had to walk some stuff back that he said in the past. Let's be real. And I'm not, again, I know that I'm going to upset some people by saying this, and it isn't my intent to knock the man and destroy the man. Obviously, he did some great things to rise to the level of Pope, of being the Pope. But there were plenty of things that I disagreed with, and there are things that I think, and obviously I'm not a Catholic, but given the society that we live in today, given the world that we live in, where men can be men, men can be women, right? Or you're told that men can be women and vice versa. People need truth more than ever. You have fewer people that want to get married or bother to get married. You have a population growth that is declining like nobody's business because people aren't marrying and having kids. And there's all types of reasons that are associated with that. You need people, you need somebody, you need a church, you need a institution besides your local church that you can look to in society that says, all right, I'm messing up. When you realize you mess up, this is what I need to, this is where I need to go. I can recall a buddy of mine, I won't say his name, but he would always tell me, Carl, when I get ready, he was like, I know that I'm sinning. I know that I'm doing this. I know that I'm doing that. When I'm ready, I'll be ready. Now, I disagree with that sentiment. I wanted him to be ready, but he said he wasn't ready. I don't think that's up to the person. I think that's a little naive. I would encourage this person to come to church. but anyway, but he was like, I know when I'm ready, I'll go there. He had an understanding at least that there were some things in his life that he needed to correct and he knew where to go. And so what the church should be, we shouldn't try to be the most, listen, we should be loving, we should be hospitable, we should be welcoming. But what we're not is we want to make sure that we're ultimately ushering people into heaven. And sometimes that means I'm going to love you. I'm going to hug on you, but I'm also going to confront the hard truths. Guys, that's happened to me, and that'll happen to me again because I am far from perfect. But this is why you want these people when they're elevated to these high positions. They got to be able to call out sin, and it'll affect culture, it will affect politics. This guy seemed to be kinder to Joe Biden, who was down for abortion, and Kamala Harris, that were down for abortion up until birth, but not so much down with Trump. Was it because of what he heard in the media? The downsides of his papacy were just as striking. Despite his calls for openness and listening, he was the most authoritarian pope in a century. His distaste for doctors of the law led to a pattern of sloppiness in the canonical life of the church. The code of church law that guarantees proper procedures, due process, and the rights of believers. His excessive reliance on the Jesuits for support was unhealthy, both in theological content and for its perception of favoritism within the church. His frequent criticism of the clergy alienated many good priests and bishops, and his loose public comments on sensitive issues sowed confusion. His gutting and reinvention of Rome's John Paul II Institute for the Study of Marriage and the Family was seen by many as petty and vindictive toward the legacy of his Polish predecessor. Pope John Paul II loved the Western Hemisphere, right? He liked capitalism, not so much with this Pope Francis. And there were times where he was petty. Listen, I know that he was a great man. I know that he was a good man, but I'm hoping the next Pope is more of a traditionalist. This is the Carl Jackson Show. We will be back momentarily. All right, guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show again. your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Please don't forget to follow me on all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we are on Facebook as well. Um, Let me do this. Pretty soon, I'm going to go to video here. So, well, all right. So, man, I got so much more that I want to talk about. We'll cram this in. We'll get this done as quickly as possible. All right. So, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. But we are talking about the Pope. And again, I just hope that I'm hoping for a more traditional Pope. That is my hope. I didn't try to make that rhyme. That is my hope. A more a more traditional pope. Frankly, I think that's what the world needs. But God knows best. And so we will find out soon. But plenty of controversy. I mean, there were times where he seemed to be okay with homosexual relationships, and then they had to walk it back. He would say stuff on the papal plane. I believe that's what it was called with the press there, and then they would have to the Catholic Church would have to walk things back that he said. So there was a bunch of confusion. And I just don't think that's where the church needs to be. There shouldn't be a bunch of confusion when it comes to the gospel of Jesus Christ, when it comes to sin, when it comes to Jesus Christ on the cross, when it comes to, I'm sorry, there is a such thing as nation states, borders, a language, culture. Have you heard of the nation of Israel? These things are really important. Okay, I want to switch topics. I want to go to this Carmelo Anthony thing. It's so weird when I say his name. I almost have to double check because I'm like, that's the basketball player. Now, I haven't spoke on this much lately. I was actually on Jake Lang's program. He is a J6er that spent the most time behind bars, and he's out running for a Senate seat in Florida. There's some great people already. Ashley Moody has announced for the seat. There's rumors that perhaps Representative Corey Mills may. Actually, I haven't heard that lately, so I'm not sure. But there were rumors circling where that is concerned. But I want to do this. I want to go to a video that I had not played, and and I got many that I'll bring to your attention. But I want to start by saying this. Imagine if Carmelo Anthony was white. Let me mention some names to you again. Imagine if Carmelo Anthony was white. There's a problem there's people out there that man, there's a problem with black culture, and this is that. Here's what I see, and here's what I've noticed. And the left has done this. They've used blacks, and sadly many blacks have fallen for it. But let me just mention some names: Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray. Who else do we have? Michael Brown. Oh, George Floyd. We can't forget George Floyd. There's a tendency amongst the left, amongst black leftists, amongst white leftists, to deify or at least make black thugs black heroes. And I feel like this is what's happening slowly but surely with this young man, Carmelo Anthony. This young man that allegedly, and I believe he did, murdered this kid, Austin Metcalf. And there's a lot of people out there trying to make it a racial thing, and it shouldn't be a racial thing, but it is going to be made a racial thing because there's a black kid that did the murdering, and there's a white kid. And honestly, let's just be real. If the roles were reversed, if this were a white kid that murdered a black kid, stabbed him to death at a track meet, there will probably be riots in the street, except that it was in Texas, so maybe they would get things under control a little sooner. But even during BLM, there were some crazy riots during in Texas during the BLM era. But let's just be honest about this. So let's go through the history. Actually, before I do this, I want to go to this press conference. You may have seen this. I've not opined on this. I've not talked about this, but you may have seen it. And I think it's important to play at least part of it. So the father of Austin Metcalf, Jeff Metcalf, shows up at a press conference of Dominique Alexander, who's the attorney that was, or one of the attorneys representing Carmelo Anthony, the alleged murderer. And here's what he had to say. This is video clip number 3, Gabe. If we could go ahead and play that again. Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, the slain teen, shows up at a press conference for the young kid that murdered his son, allegedly. Clip number 3, Gabe.
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later, is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak louder than words. Okay? What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate, yet bigotry, and yet racism. We have conservative operatives that have been posting nonstop about this case.
What an opportunist. What an opportunist. What a fake. What a fraud. What a political phony. He wants to racialize this thing because he realizes that's the best scenario that he can play for his client. You think it's an accident that they went and found this social justice warrior? So the father shows up at this press conference. This guy, this attorney, is absolutely despicable. He says it's disrespectful to show up at a press conference. How disrespectful is it to murder someone's son over a seat at a track meet? How disrespectful is that? I don't know this guy's political persuasion, the father of Austin Metcalf. Frankly, I don't care. For too long, we've allowed people to not be held accountable. I believe this kid, not Austin Metcalf, excuse me, Carmelo Anthony, he's the guy that stabbed the kid in the heart. Guys, have you ever been in a fight? Is your first instinct to stab somebody in the heart? Hey, man, get out of my tent. No. Hey, man, you grab his bag, get out of my tent. I'm not saying that's exactly the words, but it was similar to that. Man, you touch me, see what happens. See what happens. Man, get out of my tent. You ever done that? That's your first instinct. No pushing, no spitting, no. You just first, yeah, you don't even throw a fist. You throw a knife and you stab somebody in the heart. What kind of mindset? What kind of mentality does that? Who's to blame for that? Well, in part, it's people like this attorney. It's probably his parents. I don't know if this kid, Carmelo Anthony, went to church, but this happens all the time. What the left does is they'll try to make black thugs black heroes. Well, Carl, he's not a black thug. He had great grades, and I don't give a flip about his grades. Nobody gets in a fight and stabs somebody in the heart instead of swinging at the person, instead of tackling the person. Where does that mentality come from? Oh, that's black culture. That is some thug culture that exists within a very small percentage of the black population. 95% of the black population does not and will not act like this. But sadly, I think there's been a lack of accountability. I believe that so many blacks are allowed to be racist. And now you can look at this case, and this kid and his attorneys have raised 500 or so, approximately $1,000. They have bought the parents have bought a $900,000 home and a new car. This kid is going to be out of jail at least for a couple of years. And who knows? Who knows? Given the jury pool, he's in Dallas. This kid may be able to get off. Don't think for a second that this attorney isn't going to racialize this, make it about race. Of course they will. That's their defense. That's the way. Who in their right mind would send money to his defense? I'll tell you who would. A bunch of racists that thinks it's okay to murder a kid that happens to be white. Oh, Carl, no, you're a sellout. No, I just want justice. If a black kid murders a white kid, allegedly, he should go to prison, perhaps even get the death sentence. But the same should be true the other way around. That's justice. That's equality under the law. He had a $1 million bail. It was dropped all the way down to $250,000. So the kid walked, murdered somebody, and he got to walk out of jail for 25 grand because you only have to post 10%, 10% bond. If Carmelo Anthony was white, there will be riots in the street, and there will be no question as to whether or not Austin Metcalf, if he had done it, if he had killed Carmelo Anthony, it'd be no question he would be spending life in prison, perhaps even talking about the death penalty. This is the crazy society that we live in right now. Oh man, guys, you're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. I got some videos to play after the break. All right. Okay. Okay. Take a swig. All right, guys, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, imagine if Carmelo Anthony was white. Imagine if Austin Metcalf were black. Again, I do believe there would probably be riots in the street. I don't think that if Carmelo Anthony was white, I don't think he would have been allowed bail. I really don't. Oh, this is his first offense. Yeah, but he stabbed somebody in the heart over a seat at a track meet. This guy is dangerous. This guy gave no warning, no push, no spit in the face, no slap, no punch, just a knife in the heart. Oh, we don't want to racialize this. We don't want to make this political. Grow up, people. This is the world that we live in. It's really nice, feels good to say stuff like that. It just isn't true. That's not the society that we live in right now. Everything is racialized. That's what the left does. Everything is racialized. $250,000 bond. Witnesses told cops that Metcalf tried to shove Anthony, who attended his rival school, out of a pop up tent. When Anthony grabbed a knife from his backpack, he stabbed Metcalf in the heart, leaving him to bleed out into his twin brother's arms. This, according to police. um, it's just crazy. Here's the potential punishment. Even if the boy is convicted of first degree murder, speaking of Carmelo Anthony, he will not face the death penalty. This, according to Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis, he revealed this the other week. He says, quote, the Supreme Court has said, not only can you not seek the death penalty against someone who committed a crime when they're 17, you can't even get them life without parole. That would not be something we could do even if we wanted to. They need to throw the book at them. I don't even think they should be out saying this. I think they should be out saying, "Hey, these are the laws that exist, but because of the cruelty of this crime, because this kid he didn't even give this other kid a chance. We're gonna seek the death penalty. We're gonna seek a life sentence." Carl, that's so cruel. He's just a kid. Nah, he did a grown behind thing when he murdered somebody like that. That wasn't self defense. That wasn't self defense. He was in fear of his life. Nah, nah, not when you say touch me and see what happens. that's that's not exactly self defense. A lot of people out there want to say that. The only reason why they're saying that is because he's black. Anthony even confessed. Anthony himself allegedly told police he was acting in self defense, and his family claimed the narrative that was being spread as false, unjust, and harmful. Um, And again, they've had nearly $500,000 raised, I believe, at this point. And they bought a new house, a $900,000 home. They bought a new car, so that's nice. One Kim Cole represented. These are some of the people that are representing him. One Kim Cole represented black teen Dejaria Becton after a viral video from McKinney, Texas, showed a cop slamming and pinning her to the ground at a pool party. Cole managed to win $148,850 settlement for Becton from the McKinney Police Department and the officer who resigned. Anthony's other attorney, Billy Clark, became a professional mediator after a 20-year career in the Air Force. In a recent statement, the pair of attorneys directed people to the Anthony Family Fundraiser, but they also emphasized that a previous GoFundMe page claiming to be set up for Carmelo himself was fake. So I guess perhaps that's why they went to Give, Send, Go. And so anyway, this is just one of those cases where again you have a black thug that the left wants to pretend like he's a black hero, and perhaps this is justified. It's like the O.J. Simpson trial. You guys remember O.J. Simpson? Go back in the day, and a lot of people said, even one of the jurors at the time. I remember watching a documentary afterwards, and one of the jurors said, "Well, yeah, I think he did it." Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but I wasn't going to send them to jail because this is what they've been doing to us for a long time. This mentality still exists. This mentality has grown. How do you get rid of this mentality? Equality under the law. Nobody gets treated special. Equality under the law. Guess what, man? You murder somebody, you get the harshest punishment out there. When it's not self defense, that was not self defense. You get the harshest punishment out there. Whether you're black, whether you're white, you commit a minor offense, judge wants to be lenient, no matter black, white, Latino, or Asian, whatever it may be. Equality under the law. That's how you change things. Let me play another clip for you. And I'm gonna move on, but I think it's all tied in. I want you to hear this clip by Simone Sanders. Simone Sanders is on MSNBC. She took over for Joy Reid. She and oh man, I forget the gentleman's name that used to be the RNC chair, Michael Steele. Michael Steele. He's gone full out liberal because he's getting a serious paycheck apparently on MSNBC. So this is what Simone Sanders had to say. Now this is regarding, and I want you to understand this because this is dangerous, and it's sometimes it's hard for me to say this. Sometimes it's hard for me to say this, but there's a level of black entitlement that exists that is just absolutely insane in the United States where we allow black people to be racist. Carl, well, black people can't be racist because we have no institutional power and you're just a sellout that's trying to appease the white man. Well, you do have institutional power. We do have institutional power. You can go to the DMV, you can go check out government jobs, you can check out the per capita, the rate of black women going to college. Yeah, we have institutional power, and we get into places of power and complain about the systemic racism that exists, despite the fact that we've elevated to certain levels. This is kind of what happens with Simone Sanders, in my opinion. This is video clip number 2, Gabe. Let's go ahead and roll it. This is what Simone Sanders saying that black people could be a target, just like this Garcia was. We could be a target. We could be deported, just like Garcia. Let's roll. Let's roll that clip number 2. It's insane.
But to me, that is why Kilmar Abrego Garcia's specific case, the case of the gentleman who's a makeup artist out of California who was also sent to that prison. That is why the 75% of the folks who have been sent, the men who have been sent there that don't have criminal records, that is why this is so important. Because if they could do it to them, if they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. To be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
I think that's right, and that's certainly part of why the African American community is so strongly behind supporting Kilmar.
Yeah, we're like, we are not for this.
Yeah, because as you just said, if they're going to whisk them away.
Okay. All right, Gabe, I'm going to have to do it. I said that when Joy Reid left the show, they were getting a better host. I mean, she's a lefty, and Simone Sanders, someone with more brains. Bad host, bad host, bad host. I take that back. I take that back. That was crazy. What are you for real? Are you for so? All right. So first off, you have black liberals, black leftists all the time that talk about how systemically racist America is. So if America is systemically racist, like many black liberals claim, then maybe being deported from the United States of America isn't a bad thing at all. And obviously, I'm being facetious here, but we know this is asinine. First off, they wouldn't be saying it on television if she really believed it. She wouldn't want to be hunted down. And she knows this isn't going to happen because we're talking about illegal aliens. We're not talking about American citizens. And by the way, Trump won a pretty impressive number of black voters. What is he going to do? Deport his supporters? I mean, the fact that you could have this level of unintelligence, and the guy in the middle is a really smart guy. I believe he's a professor somewhere or something like that, but he just believes the dumbest things. It is absolutely insane. Michael Steele, I know Michael Steele is just collecting a paycheck. He had to be sitting there saying, that was really dumb, Simone, but I'm going to play the role because I'm just an actor. These aren't journalists. These aren't news people. These are a bunch of actors. This is what you have to understand. Black people aren't going anywhere. Latino people that are here in the United States of America aren't going anywhere. This is the people that Trump are trying to deport are illegal alien criminals. Guys, I got a video. You may or may not have seen this video. It looked like a hostage video that we're going to play when we come back on the other side of the wife of this Garcia guy that you have Van Hollen going to El Salvador, and he got grilled by Dana Bash. But you got to watch this video. It's like a hostage video when she's interviewed by Michael Strahan. And then obviously this is not going so well for Democrats. So you have Dana Bash kind of giving Van Hollen a tongue lashing without giving them a tongue lashing. You know what I mean? All of that and more coming up. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back momentarily. Okay, last one. What number is that? Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. Por favor. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go. To find me. Oh man, I'm looking. This Van Hollen is an absolute complete and utter moron. But anyway, we'll play those clips momentarily. All things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show. All right, let's go right to this. I got some clips that I want to play for you to close this show out. Again, you're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. We've got Senator Van Hollen that admitted that taxpayers paid for his trip overseas. We've got Dana Bash that is grilling him on, who's Dana Bash on? I believe she's on CNN. So we'll play that video for you. I want to go to first, where is this video of the hostage taker? This is video clip number 1. If you guys did not see this, I want you to brace yourselves for this. Now, keep in mind, this is the wife of this Garcia. I forget his name. I don't even care. The wife beater, the MS-13 gang member. This is the wife of him being interviewed on MSNBC, I believe this is, by Michael Strahan. Is God is my witness. Oh, no, this is ABC. Excuse me. ABC. It feels like a hostage video. Let's roll video clip number 1. Por favor, Gabe.
Have to ask it. You did take out a temporary order of protection against your husband in 2021. Were you in fear of your husband?
husband is alive. That's all I can say.
Okay, and you know I'm not going to push on that apparently, but how much hope?
My husband is alive. That's all I can say. Because what she really wanted to say is, my husband is alive, and if I want to stay alive, I'm going to shut my mouth because my husband has beat me, because my husband has trafficked humans, because my husband is a part of the MS-13 gang. My husband has sold drugs. MS-13 is one of the most vicious gangs out there. So I'm not going to throw him under the bus because I don't want you to find my body chopped up somewhere in Maryland. That's what she wanted to say. You've got people even today, my own congressman, Maxwell Frost, wet behind the ears. This young buck barely, I think he graduated college, drove Uber. Actually, I'm not even sure if he graduated college, but I believe he did, and then drove Uber. And then he ends up getting elected to Congress. This guy has never held a real job. He's traveling to El Salvador. The left's traveling to El Salvador, whatever they can do to get their name out there. They're fighting hard for the illegal alien criminal wife beater, but they're not fighting hard for the mothers that have lost their daughters to these illegal alien criminals by rape and murder. It's insane to me, but this is who the left is. They're fighting for their perceived constituents. They want to get in good with the Latinos again. This is all they know how to do. It's all they know how to do. They stir up a bunch of chaos. They complain about President Trump. And then they think that blacks and Latinos and minorities are so dumb they can take trips to El Salvador and fight for an illegal alien criminal and get Latinos on board. Oh, they're for us. They're for us because they're for that MS-13 gang member that beats his wife, that probably murders people, that sells drugs, that traffics humans. They're for us. It's so insulting. It's insane, but this is who the left is. Gabe, let's play video clip number 14. This is Senator Van Hollen, who had ambitions, from what I understand, of being president of the United States one day. That's over. So just in, you paid for his trip to El Salvador for this fool to go out there and have a date with a wife beater, MS-13 gang member. Here's video clip number 14. Por favor, Gabe.
Who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared
So
on a
taxpayer
bipartisan
dollars.
basis. Yes, like every other trip.
Okay. All right. So you paid for this fool to fly from Maryland to El Salvador to try to get his face in front of cameras to have a date with the it did look like a date. Did you see those pictures, Gabe? Didn't it look like a date? To have a date with an MS-13 gang member. Let me take you to another video. Video clip number 19, Gabe. If you could get that ready, would certainly appreciate that. Let's play video clip number 19, please.
Now, President Trump says that some of Abrego Garcia's tattoos signify that he's a member of MS-13. In 2019, police alleged a confidential informant claimed that Abrego Garcia was an active MS-13 member. His wife and his attorney deny that, of course. Can you say with absolute certainty that he is not, nor has he ever been a member of the MS-13 gang? And did you ask him point blank?
Well, Dana, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is change the subject. The subject at hand is that he and his administration are defying a court order to give Abrego Garcia his due process rights. They are trying to litigate on social media what they should be doing in the courts. They need to put up or shut up in the courts. Let me tell you, and I decided to write this down so I could be absolutely accurate as to what Federal District Court Judge Zinnes said about these allegations by the Trump administration. Quote, "No evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any terrorist activity has been presented to the court." That's where to litigate this. It's been litigated in many other places. So I'm not going to get into the details because the whole purpose of our court system is for them to adjudicate these things, not for Donald Trump to go off on social media.
Yeah, you're right. They have not, there hasn't been a court hearing for them to put forward evidence in the first place, which is your whole point. But since you were the one person to have met with him, and since this is a thing, you say on social media, it's what we hear from Donald Trump and Republicans every day, all day long, you didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him that because I know what his answer is. What he told me was he was sad and traumatized that he was being in prison because he has committed no crimes. And that goes to the heart of this issue because he's being denied his due process rights. And Donald Trump is trying to change the subject. And, you know, when people start asking that question, in my view, they're falling into the president's trap because what the president wants to do is talk about that as if we can't all fight gang violence, which I've been doing for much longer than Donald Trump, right? His argument is you can't fight that and at the same time uphold people's constitutional rights. That's a very dangerous view. And if we deny the constitutional rights of this one man, it threatens the constitutional rights of everybody in America.
Okay, so fight gangsters. This is what Chris Van Hollen has been doing. Apparently, he had a task force for gang members in his state of Maryland. I believe they may have been illegal aliens, and no one can tell you what the task force accomplished. They just this is all show. This is all show. He didn't ask him if he was an MS-13 gang member. He didn't ask him if he beat his wife, if the allegations were true. No, he doesn't want to know. What he told me, what the gangster, what the wife beater, what the human trafficker told me was that he was sad and depressed. Oh, you believed him? Traveling out there on your taxpayer dime. Do you think this guy went and visited the mother of Rachel Moran in his state? No, he didn't. They didn't get a phone call from him. He didn't show this type of attention, saying this nonsense has to stop illegal aliens coming into our country. And by the way, there was due process. This is why we know that there was a deportation order set out for him in 2019 that said, okay, we won't fly him to El Salvador, but he got to go. So you can argue as to whether Trump or you wish Trump would have handled this differently. Bottom line is he had to go, and he should go. He shouldn't come back to this country. Justice Samuel Alito, this according to the Epic Times, calls the Supreme Court block of Venezuelan gang deportations legally questionable. The Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito filed a strongly worded dissent from the court's order issued on April 19th over the weekend that temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deporting alleged members of the Venezuelan criminal gang TDA, Tren de Aragua. The dissenting opinion was joined by Justice Clarence Thomas, who is the bomb.com, and that was posted on April 20th. Here's what Alito said in his dissent, and we'll be getting into this in a special interview with constitutional attorney from the Heritage Foundation, Zach Smith, tomorrow. But here's what Alito said. In sum, literally in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party, within 8 hours of receiving the application, with dubious factual support for its order, and without providing any explanation for its order. Alito goes on. I refuse to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that, under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Both the executive and the judiciary have an obligation to follow the law. The executive must proceed under the terms of our order and Trump versus JGG, and this court should follow established procedures. We'll have more on this tomorrow with constitutional attorney Zach Smith. Do not grow weary doing good. God bless you. Oh, sure. Didn't realize somebody was on. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that, Frank. Appreciate you being out there. God bless you, man. Oh man, hasn't been. There was nothing wrong with him. Deep State needed someone malleable and sympathetic to. You know what? I know they did Pope Benedict dirty. It wasn't just a simple resignation. I remember that at the time reading that there was a little dirt going on behind the scenes where they were really trying to get rid of Pope Benedict, and I thought he was I mean, obviously Pope John Paul II. How do you replace that guy? They did a really good job with Pope Benedict. Only it seems to me to throw him under the bus to some extent. So anyway, I appreciate you being out there. Appreciate you tuning in. Out of St. Louis, Republican Party is starting to crumble. The spines of these Republicans is like they are caving to the man. Honestly, this is a good point. I I I I believe, and I've said this frequently, that one of the biggest fights that we have isn't just against the left; it's against rhinos. It is against rhinos. It's against people that won't fight. I live in the state of Florida. Right now, we literally have a rhino coup that are trying to destroy Governor Ron DeSantis and turn our state that has turned red back into a purple state. We have a Florida House Speaker that's a Republican. We have a Senate member that's is he head of Department of Agriculture? Actually, head of Department of Agriculture, and Wilton Simpson, who had aspirations to run for governor. That's not going to happen, or at least he won't win. And I'm glad. And then you have this guy Al Britton or something like that, head of the Senate, and all of these guys are trying to pretend as if DeSantis and his wife are corrupt because they don't want him to be in a primary against Byron Donalds. However, you may feel about that, but they want to destroy his legacy here because they don't want him to be able to run, and they are bought and paid for by the lobbyists here, and the lobbyists where DeSantis fought back to take down the weed people here that wanted recreational marijuana. All of these people were backed by a bunch of left-wing radicals, especially an attorney out here, John Morgan, that wanted this stuff to pass, and a lot of people that were involved in that. And so you have Republicans working with the left to take down a real conservative. This is the party. This is the party. That's why you can't just rely on Trump. We got to be willing to call in. As a matter of fact, I got to make a call into my congressman that's either went to El Salvador or is headed to El Salvador. It won't matter. I live in a really blue city, but nonetheless, I got to make a call anyway. Express my opinion. But you're right, man. I really think the biggest. I almost feel like rhinos are as bad as communists. I know they're not, but at times I feel that way. All right. Anyone else there, Gabe? Okay. My dad would tell us truth is stranger than fiction. Wow. Sure does apply in this case. Wonder how much the lawyer is getting from the fundraising. Yeah, that's a good point. I did wonder that too. Is he telling them? Obviously, the lawyers typically get, I think, 35%. So I'd imagine they're paying him. They put the down payment on the house. They bought the car. And from what I understand, I just heard this the other day. I didn't even know this, but if there will be a civil suit, I suspect one day from the Metcalf family. And with this family, the Anthony family buying this new house and this new car for whatever reason, that cannot be included in the civil suit. It cannot be taken away. I did not know that. So yeah, there's no telling. But those lawyers are absolutely scandalous, and this was what the left does. They always project. I mean, this is exactly what they were doing. They're trying to politicize this case. They're trying to racialize this case because that is their best strategy for getting their client off. And I got to tell you, they're in Dallas, Texas. That has grown increasingly liberal. I hope that they will get a jury pool that's willing to convict this kid. I'm getting a little concerned. I'm not going to lie to you. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys being out there.